Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Charles, and for going over property taxes. I think all of us just got our bill. So we would love for you to start the presentation. Thank you everyone for being here, and for those of you watching.
Thanks, Gilbert. Thanks for having me. My name's Charles Denson. I'm the owner of Gill, Denson and Company. We are a licensed property tax firm that helps property owners across the state of Texas reduce their property taxes. I'm sharing my screen here. I'm going to go full screen. And today I want to talk a little bit about a high level overview of property taxes, how a firm like mine can help, some common questions that come up, and then I'll open it up for an FAQ to answer questions about your property taxes. So thanks again, Gilbert, for having me. I've worked with Gilbert for a while now with his clients, able to reduce their property taxes. And so property taxes, this is the time of year that everyone's thinking about it. You get done with your income taxes, and then you got to start thinking about your property taxes. In Texas, Texas is known for being an aggressive state on property taxes for a few reasons. Fundamentally, first, we don't have an income tax here, so uh, counties get their revenue from property taxes and sales taxes, and each county they have their own taxing authority. There's 254 counties in Texas. The appraisal district, their job is to try to set values each and every year. There's a lot of states across the U.S. that reappraise properties every few years, or maybe they grandfather you forever after the first year. Texas is very different, that they do reassess based on the market value as of January 1st. A lot of people come to Texas wondering why property taxes are so high. Those are the two main um, triggers. So the county appraisal district, they do thousands of properties at once. They are valuing properties through the springtime, and then they release their preliminary values. They call this a notice of appraisal in right now in March, late March, early and mid-April. And then they send that to you in the mail, and they say your value is such and such. You can file a protest by May 15th or 30 days after you receive this notice, whichever is later. For the vast majority of people, 99% of people, their protest deadline is May 15th every year. Whether you've gotten a notice in the mail or not, it's probably online. You may have an incorrect mailing address. It could get lost in the mail. Don't rely on the mail. Know that your value is out and or coming out. If you're in the Austin area, all counties have now released their values. Travis County released their values a few hours ago. Williamson did last week, and Hayes County did earlier this week. So they should be available online. So you'll want to file a protest. Whatever your value is, really, you're going to want to protest it because it's a mass appraisal system. Once you file a protest, that's when the process really begins. The process, it opens up with informal negotiations, informal hearings. A lot of homeowners skip this step and go straight into a formal ARB hearing. The ARB hearings occur during the summer months between June and September. And then for certain types of properties, higher end properties, they could go to litigation as well. One second here. So why hire a professional? So filing a protest, you can do that on your own as a property owner. You have a right to do that, but it's kind of like hiring an attorney to represent you in court. There's professionals that do this. Um, our company is a licensed property tax firm. There's only a few hundred really agents in Texas that do this, property tax agents rather. We're ad valorem tax experts, so we have appraisal backgrounds. On our team, we have CPAs and attorneys, senior property tax consultants that have been doing this for 20 years. So this is what we do every day to win our cases and reduce property taxes. So we also bring in a ton of really sophisticated software. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on our software. So basically, we can pull in if you're a residential property, we pull in all the MLS comps, but we also pull in every deed that's transferred in the county, and we know the mortgage amounts, we know off-market sales, and that's just for sales. We also go in and check the appraisal districts on their fair and equal values, making sure your neighborhood is your neighbors are not being taxed less than you. It's fair and equal, so we can check all those formulas. And we also look at the cost approach, so standard building costs, depreciation, backing out maintenance on your home, and then making all those manual adjustments. So that is largely why we're successful. I think about 66% year to year. Usually people, about 2/3 of people hire an agent to represent them. It can be kind of a daunting process. This is your only legal avenue to reduce your tax bill. There's no other loophole. You have to file a protest. If you end up in like a litigation scenario, you have to file a protest and go through the ARB hearing to do that. So it's a very tight timeline. You have until May 15th. A lot of people miss it and they ask if they can file after. It doesn't work that way. You got to be proactive. Um, and then at the appraisal district level, we also do a lot of informal discussions. So we sit down at the appraisal district. We like to do this in person. We do it over Zoom. We do a phone call to start talking numbers. The appraisal staff at the counties, they have very capable appraisers that can talk with us and respect our opinions. To know when the mass appraisal system wrong, their job is to resolve the protest with us. And a lot of great things can happen during that phase. If we don't see eye to eye on a number, we go to the ARB formal hearing, and it's us versus the county in front of a panel of citizens. And then if the way we structure our service, and most services are like this, but we only charge you if we successfully lower your property tax bill. Some firms charge you a retainer. We don't, and I'll talk a little bit about our discount with Gilbert towards the end of the meeting. So with protesting, really, it doesn't really matter what your value is on a year-to-year basis. We look at this as yearly maintenance. It's kind of like having home insurance or just keeping up with maintenance of your home. You got to protest every year. So the mass appraisal system is only as good as a massive formula can do. So whether the real estate market's going up, it's going down, the property taxes are usually off, whether you think they're fair or not. It doesn't affect your home value. If you were to call Gilbert and say, hey, I want to list my house tomorrow, he's going to be looking at the high end of comps and trying to push that value. We are on the total opposite side of the spectrum. We want to find the lowest value possible to pay less taxes. Any sophisticated buyer is not going to say, well, the tax appraisal is lower, I'm not going to pay more than that. It's a mass appraisal. So you want it to be low to have more value on your home. So clients with us, we file protests for every property that signs up. And usually about 8 out of 10 of properties are successful in the protest process. We average about 9% reduction. So that equates to about a $47,000 reduction for our average property. I touched on this a bit earlier, but we go through an informal stage, an ARB formal hearing, and a judicial appeal. A lot of people that file their own protest may not know about all these stages, and they end up in the middle phase, kind of lost in bringing in pictures and comps, and there's a very specific way that you have to present your information in the ARB hearing, and so unless you're a professional doing this every day, you really don't want to be in that sort of setting. I can't really provide a ton of advice there. That's what we're trained to do. But as far as the informal negotiations, I really do encourage people to take advantage of that time and negotiate. The county is always going to probably give you a tiny offer to go away. That's not a good offer. We dig in hard right here at the informal stage. And then, of course, the county does know that we will sue them if we don't get what we want in the ARB formal hearing. So that's a point of leverage when you work with a firm like ours. So here's some recent case studies. We work on thousands of properties in Austin through Travis, Hayes, Williamson. We also work on all the surrounding counties. We work in every county in Texas. So if you have a lake house out in LBJ and Burnett County, Plano, we work out there as well, through the hill country. But this is, these are just a few examples. We work on all types of residential, commercial property, land, business, personal property. So we're happy to help with any of the properties you have. If you do want to sign up with us, you can go to our website and then you can enter in the code that Gilbert's provided to get a special discount. So we're only going to charge a fourth of what we save you, only if we save you money. There's no hidden fees, there's no minimum fees. I want to also talk about, and this is kind of the last thing before FAQ, is some of the property tax law changes. There's a lot of talk about this in the news, especially since November it was passed on the proposition of the ballot in the election. And there's really three main things that are relevant to most people. There's kind of a lot of administrative and procedural things that are kind of boring to the average person. But the first main thing is the residential homestead exemption increased from 40,000 to 100,000. So before, if you have a $500,000 house and you have your homestead exemption, it's your primary home, you've applied and received that exemption. It's free to apply. You would be actually paying taxes at a $460,000 taxable value. Now they've increased that to 100,000. So your $500,000 market appraised house, you pay taxes based on a $400,000 value. And that's for the school tax portion. All the different jurisdictions in your tax bill will have a little bit different of an interpretation, but that's for about half of your tax bill. So it's pretty good savings. Save the average person a little over $1,000 on their tax bill. The state of Texas also purchased down 10.7 cents on the dollar of school taxes. So there was a surplus at the state. The county, so the school district is funded by the county money, the funds, and this is the first time the state's ever really stepped in. I mean, I think they've done it in a few other small ways. They basically gave the school districts money out of your tax bill to buy down your tax bill. That's not here to stay. That's going to be a year-to-year type of thing. So it did save you a little bit of money. It's really hard to see how much. They don't really like advertise it that much, but that did help every property across the state of Texas. And then one of the biggest changes is there's going to be a pilot program over the next 3 years, starting this year, that caps non-homestead properties under 5 million in value to 20% increases year to year. So the big winners here are mom and pop landlords, vacation homeowners, small commercial businesses that in the last 4 years, especially post-COVID, we've seen huge real estate increases. You may look up your tax appraisal and it's gone up 50%, 100%. This new pilot program will prevent that. It will prevent the increase at 20%. Honestly, the values we're seeing in the real estate market have totally changed. 20% would be very high still, but it does kind of prevent that extreme moment where you open up your tax bill and it's thousands of dollars more. And then you have to protest it. So those are the tax law changes. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to FAQ. I know I covered a lot of ground. So yeah, if y'all have any questions, just let me know and I can try to answer them.
Hi, this is Ajay.
Hey, Jay.
Like, what type of evidence you are expecting we need to provide to reduce it? Because what is general evidence I can provide? Like, how I can show that the value of the last year has reduced? I have only the current data, right?
Yeah. So are you, Ajay, are you planning the protest on your own?
I know through you only. I was trying to protest, but I
Okay.
mean, it was asking for some evidence, so I don't know what to provide.
Sure. So for a residential home, if you're protesting through us, we want to know the big things we want to know is, did you just buy it in the last 2 years? We want to know that amount. And that's a confidential thing. We're your fiduciary agent. So we're not going to share that with the county unless it really helps you. And the other three methods of appraisal are higher. And then we want to know about maintenance items. So significant things, really over 10,000. If it's over 5,000, we'll look at that too. But big fundamental maintenance issues that you're putting off. So maybe you need a new roof, maybe you need a new HVAC system. There's damage on the floors, like significant items that you can prove, and we'll use that as part of our depreciation of the cost approach. And so if you have a contractor that's giving you a bid for something, that's really always the best for us. Photos can help too. What we don't really need is sometimes we kind of get photo overload and they're real zoomed in and they're like a scratch on the wall, and that doesn't help us. We need to be very specific with the county of how big the damage is and that we can prove it. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes. Yeah,
Great.
thank you. Mm.
And another thing on that, we don't need like comps or like comparisons of your neighbors. That's our job. So we'll pull all that.
Awesome, a lot of good information. So it sounds like you do a lot of the work. I mean, you do most of the work with regards to researching everything. We don't really need to provide much, and if we do, you'll let us know, right?
That's right. So we keep it streamlined for you. We want to put it in autopilot. So we go in, try to save you money. We're on your team. If we do, we send you a bill. If not, we still let you know how we did. And then we do it every year for you.
And what seems to be the trend this year? Higher taxes?
So every county is going to be a little different.
Yeah.
We're still analyzing it in real time. So Williamson County came out the last week. So we've had the most time. They're an interesting situation because last year they really decreased values a lot. They're a very different kind of county than others. But anyways, I've seen pretty much small increases everywhere in Williamson this year. And in Hayes County, it's a real mixed bag. I'm seeing increases, decreases. We're still working through that data. And then TCAD, Travis County came out a few hours ago. I'm seeing a lot of increases on houses over $1 million. I'm seeing a lot of small decreases on homes in the $500,000 range. Again, it's a really mixed bag. It definitely looks different than the last 4 years where we see just ridiculous increases for everyone. So it should trend more with the real estate market. You see interest rates are up, things cool off. That will reflect in property taxes. Um, it's it's just hard to generalize. Like, so the mass appraisal system is a general system doing millions of parcels. It comes down to your neighborhood. It comes down to your situation. Every case is unique. And that's why it's important to go through the protests, like really spend the time to take it case by case. Because I mean, if your neighbors on your street have been selling for really high, but the real estate market's low, your tax value could still be high.
Oh, will you touch on that too? Like if you know the benefits of a community coming together to do this?
Yes, for sure. So um, when folks in the community all protest, and especially if they do it in unison with a company like ours, we can schedule them to be talked about in a group. Um, they're still taking case by case, but we can sit down and talk in a group. Um, so say there's 10 houses in the neighborhood and 8 of them protest together and they get their house value down, or say they're all the values are at 500,000, only 8 of them protest, and then 7 of them do it with us. One of them does it on their own, and the first one on their own accepts an offer or goes to a hearing and gets it down from 500,000 to 499,000, and the other 7 are trying to ask for 400,000. Well, the ARB is going to listen to the value that was decided at 499,000 and take that into consideration. So it's called the fair and equal approach. It's every day there's new values posted from the ARB hearings. So people that aren't protesting your neighborhood are definitely hurting the others. It's
Okay,
just,
well, we'll get the
it's just,
word out here in Cerrito Valley.
yeah.
And then, of
Even
course,
if they have exemptions, like they should still just protest, get the market value down.
sounds good. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one question. This is Praveen here.
Hi.
It's like, if we, go through with this registration and put that, the current value and whatever the questions, right? So it is, you predict some basically, before even going with a protest, you predict like, this is the amount which can be, brought down based on the current market analysis, right? The particular tax amount.
Yeah, so it's all going to be geared around January 1st.
Uh-huh.
So if a property is sold in 2023, we're going to time adjust it
Mm-hmm.
uh, to January 1st. So there's in the appraisal world, we have methods to make adjustments. And month to month, we adjust for size, we adjust for condition, we adjust for time. So the less we have to adjust in a comp, the better. So if something was sold in December and January 1st is the assessment date, that's going to be a really strong comp. But if it was sold last March, not only are we gonna have to time adjusted and explain our time adjustment, the real estate market was a lot different last March than it was January 1st. So does that answer your question?
I think, I mean, the part of the question is answered, and that the part of let me, reframe again. So what I'm asking is, let's suppose, my appraisal is, let's put on the numbers, right? Something like, last year it was, let's suppose it's 400, and now it has increased to 450, right?
Okay.
So, by running some analysis, like, upfront, would you be, even, I mean, able to give some, value that, we can try to reduce, like, 420 and 430, like that? Or it will be like, after, going and filing the protest and whatever can be negotiated, after that only it can be, I mean, just and what I'm asking is like, just if we can get some rough idea, kind of a thing, based on the analysis.
Okay, got it. So last year's value is not relevant to what we do.
Mm-hmm.
It matters in the sense of a roll history,
Mm-hmm.
to understand kind of give us some guidelines, but each year is truly independent. So we have to start over every year and run the comps, run each method of appraisal to come up with our price per square foot on the building and the land. And then we determine that opinion of value. We actually don't do that until after we file the protest, because we want to sit down with the county, pull their evidence, show our evidence, and have a conversation. Uh, we don't we don't ever come in and say, well, last year's value is that. What do you think about this value? We have to come in with evidence. The county's not going to just give you anything because of what it was last year. They're trained to go back to their numbers and say, here's why our system is right. Here's all the comps I've pulled. Sometimes they say, well, here's the comps I pulled and I was wrong. I'll give you an offer to go away. But you don't know if that's a good offer or not unless you did your own homework. So last year's value, totally irrelevant to the market value that we're protesting. The one thing it is relevant towards is your exemption and the caps on what they can do to your assessed value. When we're protesting the market value.
Got it. Okay, got it.
I had a question. My
Sure.
name is Ranganath. So I wanted to know how you are calculating your, the fee that we pay for you at the end of all this.
Yeah.
So do you have a breakdown or the
Yeah,
math
for sure.
behind that?
So let's use our $500,000 house example. If we are able to go in, say that the assessed value and the market value are both 400,000. or 500,000, we get it down to 400,000, that would be $100,000 in assessed reduction. For example's sake, if your tax rate is 2%, so that would be $2,000 of tax savings. We then charge 25% of the tax savings, so $500, and you net 1,500. You pay our fee directly. If you pay your property taxes in lump sum, which I recommend if your lender gives you that option, your tax bill at the end of the year will be $2,000 lower. If you pay it monthly to a mortgage escrow, they sync up automatically with what we do when we certify the value as your licensed consultant, and they'll adjust your escrow. I also want to give an example about with a homestead exemption on it, because that's a common question. So say your market value is 500,000, but your assessed value in Travis County calls this the net appraised value. Say your net appraised value is 425,000, and we still get it down to 400,000. We're only going to charge you on the reduction of 25,000 in that scenario, because we're only charging it based on the assessed reduction. That market value is still very important for future years with your exemption and what they can raise it to, but it's not current year tax savings. So the way our company is just designed is we base it on current year tax savings.
Okay, and where do you get the tax rate from?
It's from the tax office. So some of these appraisal, what's your appraisal district?
Williamson County.
Williamson. Williamson posts their tax rate in the middle of your online page. At least they usually do. It may not be out right now. So the tax rates are updated each fall. They can go up and or down a little bit. They're very regulated. But that's where we find the tax rate.
And you'll be calculating it on the final tax rate that they
based on
usually use for sin.
Yeah, it's based on the currently known tax rate. So typically it's a year in arrears because we perform our service in the summer. But yeah, we'll always let you know what the tax rate is. And you can ask us any question.
No, because the question is last year the tax rate would have been something like 3%. But if the houses were, all appraised very high, the county or the final tax rate ends up like 2.5%. So do you calculate it on the 3% or on the 2.5%?
It would be on the currently known. So in that scenario, it would be on the 3% for our service. You're saying yours dropped from 3 to 2.5? That's a pretty big jump. Usually it's like 2.7 or like 2.5. And then some years it does increase.
It does.
Yeah.
But sometimes the tax rate, because if all the houses suddenly jumped up in value, I have seen the particular district or something like that, they lower the tax rate for that particular neighborhood or community. Especially if you're like having like a mud tax or something like that, or mud, or you're in some kind of a district. So
Yeah.
sometimes the tax rate goes down. So
Yeah, generally, if
the
the
question,
values are going higher in the county, the tax rate will go down and vice versa. And when you have a mud, it can be even a little bit different. But yeah, the way we perform our service, so we have to let you know our results in a certain time period as a licensed tax consultant. So we get our results out, we send our invoice, so we base it on the currently known. So that's just how we function. And if you pay your tax bill at the end of the year, it's changed a little bit, we're not going to come back and charge you again. So if the tax rate's increased, you won't have to pay our fee. If it's decreased, you'll pay less tax.
okay.
Gilbert, I think you may be on mute.
I'm on mute. I was on mute. No, I was saying, so what's the if they want to get started, what's the protocol?
Yeah, so you go to our website and you go to get started. It takes 1 minute to sign up, and make sure to enter in the code that Gilbert circulated to get the discount. So
Yeah, it should be in everyone's email. There was a flyer and it has, and if not, just text me. I think everybody on here has my information.
I had one more question. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, do you go to the ARB meetings for each client to represent the client against the county?
Yeah,
Or
I would say in a typical year, and depending on the county, Williamson County tends to have more ARBs than others. We're usually about 60% or so informal settled, and then about 40% ARB. Now, some of those informal settlements also we retain the rights to litigation. Historically, in most counties, informal settlements are a lot stronger than ARB. ARB boards tend to be a little bit more biased. They work at the county all day. We go to them all day long. We don't mind going to them, but a really good reduction in a good case with facts, we can sit down with an appraiser and talk about it, whether it's the first meeting or the fifth meeting with them. We'll go back and forth. So I think a lot of people really miss that boat with tax appraisals. The county's motivated to clear out a protest too. You don't have to go to an ARB to feel like it's successful. But if you do have a really unique case where you need to retain the rights to litigate, then that's very well factored into should we take this to ARB or settle it with a top line, basically saving the opportunity to litigate or go to arbitration.
okay, thanks.
Yep. Any other questions?
Yeah, for whoever might be watching that's not in here, if you want that discount code, just email me and I'm happy to send that over to you. But yeah, thank you so much, Charles. You're also available for private conversations outside of this. Your information is right here.
Yes.
Jot that down. And
Yes, that's my business partner, Richie Gill, and that's our contact info on there. So when you reach out, you'll talk to us too. We never ship you off to a call center. We're here to get to know you and your tax situation so that our team can be effective and we can work with you every year. So thank y'all. And thanks, Gilbert, and to just reach out anytime.
yeah, thank you all so much. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you.